Good morning and welcome to the photo department. It's Sunday morning. I woke up early and got coffee, and I knew I wanted to make some content for this channel, but I didn't want to do it at home. I'm tired of shooting in my bedroom. It looks the same, it's really boring. All these other YouTube channels have really cool on location shooting with like a buddy who's like working the camera. I don't have anybody that I can constantly have shooting my camera while I'm, hosting this, so have to work with what I got. But I decided to come to Mountain View Cemetery in Piedmont, which is a neighborhood in Oakland, and it's really beautiful out. It's overcast, so we've got this beautiful big softbox-like light coming from the sky. I'm here in some open shade to try to mitigate that, but the light's scattering everywhere, so it's whatever. But I think it looks really nice. We are outdoors, so that's a jet flying overhead. Some guy was flying a World War II prop plane overhead earlier, so we're at the mercy of the nature sounds today. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's beautiful. I think the world, the neighborhood is alive and bustling, and there's birds, and I like it. As far as coffee, I'm drinking some coffee, Manufactory coffee. This is actually a blend. So this is their filter 2. It is a blend of a 50% Guatemalan and a 50% Ethiopian coffee, and it's really good. It's got that fruity, acidic Ethiopian thing going on, but it's balanced out really nicely with that Guatemalan body and chocolatiness. So it's a really satisfying coffee. I don't typically like blends all that much, with the exception of the Heart Roasters Stereo Blend, which is my favorite coffee I think ever. I've been trying to give blends more of a fair opportunity lately, and I'm glad that I did. This is really, really good. So check out Coffee Manufactory. I think they roast in LA and in Oakland. So yeah, you can get fresh coffee pretty much anywhere. Oh, it smells so good. Today we're talking about the Fuji XF 23mm f1.4 and the new Fujinon 23mm f2. Last week I was hired by a San Francisco apparel brand to do a lifestyle shoot for one of their garments, and I was thinking about what lens I should use for this assignment. I have my 35mm f2, which is a 50mm angle of view, and I love that lens for all sorts of work, but I thought that the 50mm angle would be a little bit tight for this. I wanted a more editorial look. I wanted to have more context in the shots. So I went to borrow lenses and I rented a 23mm f1.4. I got it on Monday so that I can use it all week and kind of get a feel for it to see how I liked it. And I spent all week kind of just shooting random stuff, a couple of my friends. The 23mm lens is a 35mm angle of view on the Fuji system, and to be honest, I hadn't shot a whole lot of 35mm lenses in my life. The lens I used the most is a 50mm, so I was really comfortable in that area. Lately I've wanted more of a cinematic look to my images, so I've been trying to think what I could do to achieve that. I have my 18 to 55mm Fuji lens, which I'm using to shoot this right now, and that lens is incredibly sharp. It's not a constant focal length though, so I lose some light if I'm gonna come in a little bit tighter. So at 23mm, I think 3.2 is the widest I can have the aperture on the lens. So it's a little bit limiting in that way, but that lens is still really good. It's also stabilized, which is nice. So I've really been having a good time with this lens this week, and shooting this assignment on Friday was really fun. The lens was fantastic. It looked really great. It was really nice to use that focal length for the first time doing some work. It just felt really great to have that extra context in all those photos, and I'm really, really happy with how they turned out. I'm not going to show you guys any of the photos because they haven't been delivered to the client yet, and I don't want to, put photos out that I don't have rights to do so yet. Some key things about this lens that people have pointed out in videos before, because I'm not going to do a direct comparison like, line for line, everything that this lens is different from the f2, because everyone has seen these videos. There's a million of them, and there's a bunch of photographers who have done these videos a million times. I just want to talk about what my experience has been. A couple of photographers told me, like, yeah, it's a great lens, but focusing that thing is really loud, like these birds. And it's true. The focusing mechanism and the motor on the f1.4 lenses is louder. That is an issue when recording video, as some people might have noticed in my drip kit video, there is some sound you can hear every once in a while of the f1.4 lens focusing, and it's a little bit loud, but it's not that big of a deal. When it comes to stills photography, the noise from the focusing motor is almost a non-issue. I guess that really depends on the kind of photography that you're doing, but I can't really see anybody having that much of an issue with the noise from the motor. Even during a wedding, it's not so loud that anyone else is going to hear it unless you're right up next to them. And even so, it's not that loud. So I think that people make a big deal out of that. Having had the 23mm f1.4 for this whole week and getting a chance to work with it, I can definitely say that the 35mm focal length is exactly what I'm looking for as far as my work is concerned. Like I said, when it comes to cinematic looks, that's kind of the thing that I want, is a wider view with more context, and to get that, the 35mm is perfect. It's not too wide. It's also really great for portraits, because getting a really nice tight portrait sometimes is really great, and I have lenses that are super good for that, like the 105 2.5 Nikon lens, or the 55mm Nikon macro, which is a really cool lens adapted to the Fuji. It turns out to be about 80mm focal length. All that stuff is really great for portraits, but sometimes you want a portrait with more environmental elements in it, and the 35mm focal length is really perfect for that. I've been filming this on the 18-55 zoomed out to about 23mm, so I wanted to switch this out for the 23 f1.4 and the 23 f2 to give you an idea of the differences in focal length and what they're going to look like. They're all going to be stopped down to f16 for this shot. So this is the 23mm f1.4, and like I said, it's stopped down to f16. So this is what you would expect a 35mm focal length to look like, but like I said, there's a bit of variance in between this and the f2, which I'll show you now. And this is the 23mm f2, also stopped down to f16. There is obviously a variance in the angle of view between these two lenses. I have no idea why that is. It doesn't bother me. It's not like I'm gonna have them side by side ever, so that's just kind of the way it looks. Obviously, the f2 is a clear winner for video if you're going to be mounting a microphone on your camera or using the in-camera microphones, because there is little to no focusing motor noise if you're using autofocus. If you're not using autofocus, the f1.4 is the winner, because it has a way better focusing ring, and it has markings for hyperfocal distance. All right, so I'm back home and I'm shooting now on the 23 f2 at f2 to see how that does in continuous autofocus. It might be a little back and front, but we'll see. Hopefully it runs okay. Yesterday I was in the studio with my friend Ross to do a couple tests with portraits and flash. So I've used two of the Yongnuo 563 flashes in a 7-foot umbrella with varying distances between me and Ross. I wanted to show the difference between both the lenses in very similar situations. I think everything was shot at f5.6, but there are probably a couple there wide open, so you can see the difference in the fall off and the out of focus rendering, stuff like that. So here are those photos. So, in conclusion, how do I feel? I still need to spend some more time with the f2 version of this lens, only because I've had it for like a day, but it's very obvious to me in the studio tests and using it in the real world that these lenses have differences, but they're really nominal. I mean, the biggest difference between this lens and the f2 is the size and the weather sealing. The focus does fall off quicker on this lens wide open, and there is a difference in the out of focus parts of the photo, but I'm a working photographer and my clients don't notice stuff like this, and neither do the end user. Like people who see stuff in magazines or see my stuff on websites or on Instagram accounts, they don't notice the slight differences in out of focus areas. They both get within the ballpark of each other, fairly close, and that's what's really important. Can I do this work with this lens? Is it going to look good and look correct? And it does. They're both super sharp, but that's Fuji. Fuji lenses are known for sharpness, and I've never heard anybody talk about sharpness being an issue. Like I said before, if the autofocus motor sound is a big deal to you, which some people think that it is, the f2 is the winner for you. You're not losing that much when you go from the 1.4 to the 2. The biggest difference for me, like the actual huge difference for me between both these lenses, is the price. And it's not that this lens is too expensive. I think that even the f1.4 could be a little bit more expensive and it would still make sense based on the quality of this lens, but the f2 version is really inexpensive also. It's like less than 500 bucks for a brand new lens that has a super quiet, incredibly quick autofocus, weather sealing, super small package, f2 aperture. I mean, there's no downside to the f2 lens. If you need 2 more stops of light, sure, get this lens, get either lens, it doesn't matter. Like, that's kind of what I'm saying, is there's no point in really comparing them because it doesn't matter. They both are awesome and no one cares which one you use as long as you make good work with it. That's all that matters. I'm really happy with my decision to buy the 23mm f2. This one is definitely staying on my camera. The 1.4 is going back to borrow lenses. I don't get to keep it, unfortunately. This is a beautiful, beautiful lens, and maybe in the future I will buy one. I really do like the focus ring and the hyperfocal markings on the lens. That's really cool, but for my purposes now, the f2 is perfect. Thank you for watching yet again. This was a really fun episode. Make sure you check out borrowlenses.com if you want to rent lenses, camera bodies, gimbals, drones, whatever. They are not sponsoring this video, but I am a very, very big fan of their service and they're really awesome. So you can have them ship things to you to rent if you like, but if you're near one of their senders, like there's one in San Carlos, I think there might be one in Seattle, I don't know, but there are a couple different places you can go to pick one up in person. Either way, it's really fast, really inexpensive, and they have all the gear you can imagine, so check them out. Coffee Manufactory is the roaster for this episode. Go check them out and check out their restaurant Tartine Manufactory, which is a really awesome restaurant here in San Francisco that also makes bread and pastries and stuff, and they are connected to Heath Ceramics, which is my favorite ceramics place. You guys know I always have those mugs. I don't have one on me. I was drinking out of my Mir travel mug guy, camping mug thing. Yeah. And as always, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Christopher Sturm on Instagram. You can find the photo department on Facebook. You can also find my photography page on Facebook as well. I don't check Facebook that often, so I guess that's kind of inconsequential. I got a ton of really good response from my last episode with the coffee, the drip kit episode. I didn't realize that so many of you photography nerds were also coffee nerds, just like me, so that's really exciting. There's lots more coffee content coming. If you are a roaster or a cafe and you have a coffee you would like me to spotlight or try out and review for the channel, you can get in touch with me here or on Instagram, or you can email me hello@cstormphoto.com and we can talk about what that would be like. If you live near a cafe or a roaster that you really love and you would love for me to review coffee from them on this channel, you can also do the same thing, email me or get in touch with me here and we can try to get that going. Send me things, I will review them, I will shout you out. Let's have fun with it. Yeah, okay, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you next time.